Well, don't you hate it? You get in your car and you're driving down the highway and you got stuff flying in your eyes because your headliner is pretty much done. Well, I am going to show you how to replace your headliner, how to take it out and make it look like new again. Yeah, this is kind of a big issue, especially with a lot of minivans. Headliner breaks down and it looks like there's no hope for it. And you even go out to the salvage yard, junkyard, and try to find one, and they're all like this. Yeah, this headliner looks pretty bad. You can see it sagging everywhere. It is pretty much done. And I will show you what tools you will need to do this with. And it shouldn't be too hard of a job. Just about anybody can do a headliner. So, let me show you what we're going to need to do this. Okay, now the tools we will need will be a wire brush to scrape with, a pair of scissors, a blade, a can of high temperature heavy-duty trim adhesive. It can't be just any old glue. Why? The key is the high-temperature chemicals in this glue. What it does, it gets up behind the headliner and holds that cloth up. In the summertime, it gets so hot in the vehicle, the material on the other side of this cloth, the foam breaks down and drops the headliner. So this is why it's very important to have something that says high-temperature glue. You just can't go to Walmart and just buy any old glue. Also, a pair of gloves, they're optional, and also headliner material. This headliner material is 60 inches wide by 130 inches long. I picked this up on eBay for, I think it was $35, and you notice the color is pretty close to what I already have there, so that is going to work out pretty good. And other than that, looks like we have most of the stuff to do it with. And it's been raining today a little bit, so this is the great opportunity to do this. We'll take it inside after we get the headliner down, and we'll start working on it and show you what you need to do. But before we do that, we have a lot of pieces to take off. We have trim pieces, we have some lights we got to unhook. So what we'll do, we'll set the camera up on time lapse, and you can watch me take this headliner out, and we'll start working on it. So let's get to it. And also, as a side note, it might be a good idea to have a softer brush so you can get some of the smaller material off the cardboard. The wire brush will help you get the larger stuff off, and the smaller brush will actually help you clean it up a little bit better so you don't damage it with the wire brush. So I would definitely have one of these also, if you can find them. These are just regular tire brushes. I got it for like $1.99, and it's got the soft bristles, so that will also keep from damaging your cardboard as you're cleaning it. Now remember, before you're working on your vehicle, every vehicle is different. Some have hooks, some have little screws, and some just have clips. For instance, like my sun visor there, it has little star bits. Well, some have Phillips screws. So you want to make sure that you have the proper tools before you start on this job. And also my lights. These particular lights just pop out like that. I have 3 of those I got to pull out. But just so you know, every vehicle is different. So when you start to do this, take your time, especially when you're pulling off pieces of the trim off to the side. Most of the time, you can just get behind them and pull it off with your fingers. But sometimes it takes a little patience, but it can be done. And your headliner will go from this, hopefully, to a nice looking headliner that you can be proud of. So let's get to it. We'll set the camera up on time lapse and you can watch me. Alright, after about 20-25 minutes, I got it out, and you can see the cardboard is in really good shape. That's what I was really concerned about. There's the back of it. It's a pretty big headliner. Couple of quick tips. If you're doing a minivan, I'll take a couple of cloths and put behind these trim pieces so I don't have to take them all the way out, and it bends it down enough to slide the headliner out. And also, remember, you got to push your little dome lights back up to the hole. And also, I had a couple of these guys holding up the headliner. I broke one, so, you know, that's to be expected when you're working on something like that. So you might have to have a couple of small clips. You can get these for like $5-4 at the parts store. And I actually ended up needing a small pair of needle nose that I forgot to tell you about. And a little screwdriver just to kind of help pop those lights out. And this guy here I kind of used to pop these out. So the headliner's out, and here's a look at it on the inside. It's pretty much a shell. So now what we're going to do is take the headliner inside and start cleaning it up and prepping it to put on the new headliner material and everything. And the reason I said earlier it's a good day to do this, since it's kind of damp out here, it's nice and cool, and I like to work outside when it's cool. It's about 55 degrees or so, but it's ready to go. It's ready to be worked on and put back together. So let's go inside and see what we can get done. And I almost forgot to tell you, if you're doing a minivan, these little rubber seals, you have to pull these down. It makes it a little bit easier because part of that trim actually goes up under that, that headliner actually goes up under part of that trim. And I have these little windows in the back that I can open on the side. They're vent windows. And if you open these up a little bit, there's a piece of trim on the inside here that you pull down. I think you can see that's kind of dark in there, but you pull that trim down and it releases part of that headliner. There's one on that side also. So just so you know, and you can see my cloths there. All right, now let's take this headliner inside and start cleaning up and working on it. I got my headliner now inside my little storage area. It's about 70 degrees in here, so the perfect temperature. And the first thing we have to do is go ahead and pull all this cloth off. Then we have to get all this old spongy material off, the backing that was on this cloth. We have to get this off. We'll scrape it off. And as we do that, we'll be able to get down to this fiberglass cardboard type of backing that's on there, and we can prep it. But first, we got to take all this off, and we got to take our wire brush and go in here and scrub a little of this off as much as we can. Then we'll take our little finer brush with the softer ends, and we'll go over the entire headliner one time before we get ready to prep it and put the new headliner on. So I'll set the camera up on time lapse, and you can watch me. All right, we got all the glue off, pretty much off with the wire brush, and took me about the old 20 minutes or so. You just got to take your time at it. And this is a pretty big headliner. Matter of fact, I want to take a measurement here and show you guys how big it is. This is not a small one, that's for sure. And it is almost, it's what, 88 inches, so it is a very big headliner. I don't see a lot of guys on YouTube doing big headliners like this, but my purpose is, and my point is, I want to show you that you can actually do a big headliner like this. I know a lot of guys do the cars, they're a lot smaller, and it seems like there's a lot of videos for those type of headliners, but I just wanted to make a video and show you guys that you can do it. Yeah, just do it, and you will be proud of yourself. So now what I'm going to do is go ahead and take my brush here and kind of clean up, and I'll put that on time lapse real quick, and we'll go ahead and prep this and start putting the glue on it and the new headliner. And now, as you can see, this headliner is ready to be glued, and the new headliner fabric to be put back on there. So that took about 10 minutes. The idea is that you want this nice and clean. You don't want any extra stuff on here causing little bubbles and little bumps in your headliner. So now we'll go ahead and put the new headliner on here. We'll unwind it, wrap it, let it kind of lay on here. And what you need to do now when you do that is kind of play around with it before you put the glue on it, and kind of get an idea how these will go down in these little creases and everything, because you never want to start on the outside after you glue it and start pushing the headliner down, because you will get gaps and it will not stick. So you basically have to work from the inside and work your way out as you're starting this headliner. So we'll go ahead and let's start doing that. Okay, now I've got my headliner material setting on my board, and I've made sure that I've got a little overhang on both sides, about 2 inches or so, because this is a pretty wide piece. And I've made sure that it overhangs up on the front too, because you got to be careful, because when you start pushing down on these creases, your headliner will come back a little bit and you think you're right on the edge and you end up a half-inch back. So you got to be careful about that. Just make sure you got enough overhang everywhere you look all the way around. Now take one end and just basically roll it backwards about halfway and double check it again. Just kind of make sure you got enough on each side that it'll overhang. Now for spots like this, there's a pretty low place in the board that's cut. Sometimes it's hard to get the material to get forced down in there to stick. And also if you go too fast, you'll get wrinkles and it'll wrinkle around the outside, especially on this side. What you should do, this is what I usually do, I'll bring the material back over and I'll kind of just take my hand and I'll plan how I want this to go in before I even put glue on it. As you can see, if you start from the inside and work your way in the places like this where there's a dip, it works a lot better. So you have to sort of plan how you want to do that, and you need to do the same thing with the other side. I'm holding the camera and doing it at the same time, so it's kind of hard. So just make sure you start from the inside and work your way up when you have really low spots like this. And these are actually hooks that screw into the top of the ceiling. So when I put the hooks and screws in there, that hook will actually push down on that and hold that in place and also help the glue out as I start putting this back in. And sometimes on this end where the headliner board is, where you have your sun visors, sometimes it's difficult to get it to stick in these low spots. It's the same process. Work your way up and work your way into these areas, but don't try to make it stick here first. Try to come up and get this area in first before you start doing the sides, because if you do the sides first, it's going to make a tight spot here and it's going to put all this tension on this fabric and it's going to want to pull back out because it's a low spot. So that's the only advice I can give you right now. So what we're going to do is go ahead and start spraying, put some glue on here, and I will start in the middle about halfway, and I will start working the material up. I'll start on this side, I'll start spraying across, and I'll spray on the material, and I'll work my way up as I start getting these areas here. The material push down into it, make sure it's going to glue in there okay, and just work my way up. Then when this side's done, and I'm happy with it, then I'll roll this back side up and do the same thing there. So I'll put this on time lapse and you can watch me. Alright, that side's done, and you can see it's sticking really good, just like how I want it. These creases here, they're really difficult to get in there, but I got it in there pretty good. But when I put the screw and the clamp in there, it'll draw that in. See, that's in pretty good. And the key is just to take your time, and I use a cloth to kind of go over it and get it in there. And by the way, that can of glue, that's 13 ounces, so don't run out before you get it finished. About half the can for one side, and obviously half a can for the other side. So I'm going to let this dry for about a half hour, and we'll go ahead and finish up on the other side. Then all we got to do is start trimming and basically put it back in the car. So it's starting to look a lot better. Looks better than it did about an hour ago. Okay, so I'll go ahead and start on this side. That side's pretty well dry. It got dark on me, so I just figured I'd finish it tonight because I want to stick this in tomorrow. So I'm going to set up the camera here on time lapse. You can watch me do this side, and like I said, this stuff's sticking pretty good. Got about half of it done there, so I got to be careful. My can is getting a little low, so I should have just enough to finish it up. So I'll set the camera up here on time lapse and finish up. And remember, when you're coming in this area here, where you got areas that are low, work your way in from the center and work your way out and upward. That way you won't get any creases. So when you get up here where the headliner is, where the what I'm trying to say is the sun visors, where they get pushed up, there's a little crease here. So it may take you just a couple minutes to get that foam and the headliner pushed down in there in that crease, but it'll eventually go. Just take your time at it. All right, let's finish this up. All right, it's done. I just about ran out of glue. I got just a little bit left to do around the edges when I trim tomorrow, but if you take your time, just take a cloth and push down those creases. This is where the sun visor goes. You can see I got a nice little crease here. It's sticking, and the same there. So this headliner is going to look 100% better. So what I'm going to do tonight is kind of let this dry, and tomorrow I will come out, I'll come back in here, and I'll trim around the edges, and we'll put it back in the vehicle, and we'll take a good look at it. But like I said, this will give you some idea if you're going to do a headliner, what you got to go through, and you can do it. It might not look perfect, but it's probably going to look a heck of a lot better than it used to look before you took it out of your vehicle. So that's it for now. Tomorrow we'll go ahead and trim this up, and we'll stick it back in the car. Okay, folks, another day, and looks like I'll have this done today. I went on ahead and last night and trimmed all around the edges and cut out the lights and everything. I didn't think you want to see me do that, but I just figured this would speed up the video. And I got to say that this thing turned out amazing. I can't believe how nice it looks. This is going to be really nice when I get it in. I'm pretty excited. Got all my edges trimmed up and everything. And I did have to put a little extra glue in some of the corners because, you know, when you're putting this headliner down, sometimes you miss the corners. But I got the glue. It's all glued in and everything. The only advice I would give you if you're going to do a van headliner, you might want to get 2 cans of this because this is actually just for a smaller car. And I didn't realize that I probably needed a little bit more. But I actually had some more in the garage of another can that I had for headliner glue. So I'm going to stick this outside. We'll put it in the van. I'll put it up on the time lapse, and you can watch me stick it in, and we'll take one final look at it. So if you're going to do a headliner, just do what I did and take your time at it, and you can do it. So let's get this outside and get it in. And here's one more look at it outside in the light. Just a totally different headliner. Amazing how much better it looks. So now we'll set this up on time lapse, and we'll stick it in. And here's a look at it from the back toward the front. Boy, don't that look amazing compared to the old headliner that was in it. Just totally different. Took me a little while to get those pieces of trim on, but it went on. All my lights are working, and it looks really good, so I'm really happy with it. Let's go around front and look at it real quick. And also one other last tip, sometimes you gotta take the fabric and wrap it around on the back side of the headliner board, maybe a ½ inch or so all the way around, because some cars don't have trim. Lucky for me, I have trim all the way around my headliner board that covers the edges of my board, so it worked out pretty good. So I hope you like it, everybody, and if you do, say so, and I'll try to answer any questions. But on that, if you're going to do your headliner, just take your time at it, and you'll get it done, and hopefully you'll go from crappy looking to amazing looking like this. So there you go. Thanks for watching, everybody, and good luck, and stay safe. Till next time, later.